Happy Monday. Welcome back. It is Unit 5, which means we're starting the second half of the course. And I gave everybody, if you were missing something, excuse me, I gave everybody a little update last week by email. So please check your email. There were a couple of things that got messed up on the spreadsheet. So if there's an error in it, reach out and let me know. But if you didn't get an email from me last week with a check-in, a midterm check-in, then everything is probably fine. But same thing, make sure you check your grade books. And if there's anything that you're missing from the first half, reach out and let me know what your plan is to make it up. Okay, so that's kind of what the check-ins were for. All right, so we're entering Unit 5, which means we are working on the argument essay again. We've been working on it. We're continuing to work on it. And this week we're going to be writing the introduction. So the first paragraph of your big paper that's coming up. The paper itself is not due until week 7. Next week you will have a knowledge check as well as a discussion board. So you really have 2 full weeks to work on it and most of the third, but I would get started with it if you have not already. In the last unit, you were to find at least one resource that you're going to use for your argument paper. So if you have not turned in Unit 4's assignment yet, that is part of the building blocks. In fact, you should be able to incorporate what you wrote for Unit 4 into the body. So this week, we're working on that first paragraph, the introductory paragraph. So let's go ahead and go to Unit 5. And we're learning more about the structure of the argument paper overall, how to construct an argument. So this is preparing us not only to write the introduction, but to write the essay itself. So as usual, read through the intro, and especially pay attention to the readings and resources. There's some readings about persuasive writing. There's also some readings in an activity about fact, opinion, and bias. And that is what you really need to dig into before you tackle the discussion board this week. We'll talk about that assignment in a minute. Excuse me. Now, at the bottom, this isn't, you don't even have to open this. This is just something you can read on the screen. But this is a sample introduction. If you were writing a paper on cyberbullying, which you are not, it is not one of the 3 potential topics. But if you are writing an argumentative research paper about cyberbullying, this is an example of an introduction. I'm also going to give you, as usual, a document with a sample in it. So we'll take a look at that when we get to that assignment, but make sure you do look at this. And if it helps you, come back and look at it several times. One of the key things I want you to notice is that the second question or the second sentence is a question, and that's a good way to get your reader involved. And then the last sentence, and the last sentence only, is the thesis statement. And we have learned a little bit about those before, so you may want to go back and review that information. But only your final sentence should be your thesis statement. And I've got some little reminders of that in the sample that I'm going to give you as well. So take a look at those, and then you'll be ready to tackle your 2 graded assignments. So in this week's discussion board, we're looking at fact versus opinion. And this is honestly a very tricky topic. So let's go over it. In your initial post, consider the following questions. What would you consider to be the biggest difference between a fact and an opinion? How would you use a fact in your writing, and how would you use opinion in your writing? It is very important to note that no piece of writing, almost no piece of writing, is 100% factual. There's no, where writing is as human beings. So there's always going to be opinion involved. But I want you to think about this. When you're doing research, it's not just your opinion that you're sharing, it's expert opinions, which is the main reason we focus so much on using library resources and not just the internet. Anybody can post something on the internet about any topic, whether they're an expert on it or not. And so when you're looking at people's opinions that are a little out there or that are not well informed, that's not really good support for your own cause. So we do use opinion in writing. Facts are not good and opinions are not automatically bad, but put a little bit more thought into that. Okay. So just a little heads up there. Why do you think people get confused about the difference between a fact and opinion? And that does happen a lot these days. So, and then finally, after your paragraph where you answer those questions, and I think this is actually the fun part, provides two statements at the end of your post. Call them statement 1 and statement 2. One statement should be a fact and one should be an opinion, but you're not going to say which is which. So as you might well imagine, when you go on and respond to others, you're going to look at their two statements primarily and decide which one is fact and which one is opinion. Tell them how you figured that out. Also, of course, consider the facts of use of facts and opinions in society today. How often do you think people use facts and opinions in their day-to-day lives? I will note that when you are creating your statements, a false fact is not an opinion. It's still stated as a fact, but it is not, it would not be considered an opinion. So if I said there are 12 states in the United States of America, that is a statement of fact. It's incorrect, but it's not an opinion. If I said Missouri is the best state in the United States of America, that's an opinion. Okay, so be careful with those. Sometimes people just like to make up weird factual looking things and call that their opinion, but that's not really what an opinion is. So do your readings first, then do this. You'll be fine. Okay. And then we get to the argument assignment, the essay, the argument essay, and it's just, again, it's just the first paragraph. Now, you do have a link here to the full argument essay assignment sheet. I do want you to open that and read it on your own. We're going to go over it more as the weeks progress, but it will give you a good overview. This link is to the assignment for this week. So that's the one that we're going to focus on. Remember, you have 3 potential topics to choose from, and you've already chosen one. Whatever you wrote about in Unit 4 is what you're going to continue to work on. Your introduction should be 1 paragraph, and it is going to have these features. Begins with a sentence that hooks the reader and grabs the reader's attention. Features sentences that set up the issue by explaining your topics, giving background, that sort of thing. And then the final sentence is your thesis statement or the main argument of your essay. You are going to have everything set up the same way we have been. So cover page, double-spaced paragraph on page 2. The introduction should be at least 7 sentences long under the requirements. And it should be in third person. This is not the time to use I, me, we, us, that sort of thing. Now, it is possible that you have a personal story that relates. And if that's the case and you want to use that in your introduction, then obviously you're going to use I, because you would sound weird if you say, well, when one went to one's birthday party, like, you know, sometimes using third person gets us into weird territory. Your rubric, of course, is right here. Does it have a hook? Does it have an argument and thesis? Did you include supporting sentences? Is it at least 7 paragraphs? And did you polish it? Okay, effective proofreading, grammar, punctuation, all of those good things. So let's take a look at my sample document. And I'm going to, again, give you the sample document in the announcements as I always do. So this is already set up for you. You don't have to worry about your APA format. If you just use this document, it's already ready to go. I went and saw the last installment of the Indiana Jones story in the theater yesterday. So Indiana Jones is my student today, even though he is a well-respected professor in the movies. So we have our cover page. It's got the appropriate date on it and everything. And then instead of writing an intro about an argumentative topic, I wrote a little paragraph for you to help you write your introduction. So I'm going to read it to you, and it does have on the template, it does have a references page ready to go, but you may not use research in your intro. And if you don't, you'll just delete that. So place your attention grabbing sentence or question here. Use the 5 or so sentences between the opener and the thesis to explore the background of the topic. If you want to include any research in the introduction, do not forget that you will need to cite it fully. That would mean having both an in-text citation showing the source for any quoted or paraphrased information that you obtained from your research, plus an entry on the references page. If you do not use research in the intro, that is fine. Just do not forget to delete the references page in that case. Then we have the thesis. The final sentence of the intro should be your clear thesis statement that outlines what is to come in the body of the paper. So if you follow these directions and you follow the directions that are in the assignment sheet, you are going to write a beautiful introduction. And I am looking forward to seeing those. All right. So those are your 2 assignments this week. Feel free to continue to gather research for your argument paper and ask any questions about that you might have. Don't forget, you do have a workshop on Wednesday night at 7. And so I'm sure the person running those is going to be talking about this particular assignment. So if you need some extra help with that, check that out. If you can't make it, I will post the link to it just like I did last week. If you remember, if you go back to the introductions or to the announcements, there's the workshop from last week's recording. There's the recording from last week's workshop. Ooh, you would think it was a Monday morning or something, wouldn't you? All right, so that's it for our stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And I wish everybody a great week, and I will see you next Monday if I do not talk to you beforehand. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great week.